So we have a problem, and this is going to cause the American people to suffer through this. I'm going to explain what's going on, but this has to do with our Congress. This has to do mainly with the House of Representatives. There is now talks that the House of Representatives will be unable to pass any bill after January 1st. I'm going to explain what's going on here because, again, this is huge. This is going to impact every single one of us here in the United States and Americans abroad. So, if you want to know what's going on, make sure you stick around, watch this entire video. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So there is a major concern within the House of Representatives. The reason for this is because the House of Representatives, which is controlled, the majority is Republican. They are actually losing members. And you may have seen some of these different articles, like this one, where Kevin McCarthy, who used to be the Speaker of the House, he is set to resign from Congress at the beginning of this next year, or potentially before January 1st. Also, Republican Representative Patrick McHenry, who served as the temporary speaker, he is not going to seek re-election this next year. And then we also got things like this, where the House voted to expel Representative George Santos from Congress. Yes, all these things are playing a major role in how we pass bills moving forward. And I want to show you why. Okay? We're going to go through this article. It's from The Hill. It says, here's how McCarthy's resignation affects House GOP's slim majority. And again, it is a very slim majority, which is why we are seeing it very difficult for the House of Representatives and Republicans to pass bills in the House, because there are some members that do not want to pass a bill that is potentially in the middle, or what's considered a bipartisan bill between Republicans and Democrats. Again, major issues, and this is going to cause a lot of concern for people that are wanting increases to Social Security, or just shore up the Social Security trust, funding for Ukraine, which is one of the big deals right now. There's funding for Israel, funding for Gaza, additional humanitarian aid, funding for Taiwan, border security. All these things are now in question. This is a huge concern. But look at this. It says, in coming months, it is in the realm of possibility that the House GOP majority shrinks so much that Republicans will be able to afford to lose just 2 votes on any party line measure. 2 votes. There are more than just 2 members that would vote against a bill if they think it's going to help the Democratic Party. So that means any bill that gets put on the House floor is going to fail. Which also means there's a good chance that the Speaker of the House is not going to put a bill on the floor that even his party is not going to vote for. You know why? We're 1 year away from a presidential election. Republicans cannot afford to put a bill on the floor just to see their own party pretty much cause it to fail. That's a concern. I want to show you this. Now, this is talking about just 2 people, with Kevin McCarthy and George Santos. It says, with McCarthy and Santos gone, it leaves 220 Republicans and 213 Democrats. That's a 7-vote difference. But the threshold for majority would dip from 218 to 217. Says, but a special election to replace George Santos is set for February 13th. Here's the problem. If this were to go, again, this is a problem for Republicans, okay? If this goes towards Democrats and the seat flips from Republican George Santos to Democrats, guess what? Democrats get another seat. They get 1 more. So now it's 220 Republicans to 214 Democrats. That's a 6-vote difference, okay? If they lose 3 votes, guess what? It would then be tied at 217, okay? But obviously, you got the Speaker of the House, things could change. But that's why it's concerning. Okay, that's why it's concerning to many people, is that right now the Republican Party is not going to have the majority that they need. They need more Republicans in the House in order for these members that are really making it hard for the Speaker to pass any bills, because he has to go and negotiate with them to ensure that they are okay with the bill that he's putting in front of them. But many of them are not. This is one of the reasons why we saw Speaker Kevin McCarthy get ousted, because he was not willing to put a bill on the floor that other members were saying is absolutely necessary and needed. So again, this is why we are seeing this concern right now. Here's something else I want to show you, though. There are actually two other members that are going to be leaving. So one is Representative Brian Higgins. He's a Democrat out of New York. He's going to resign sometime in February, but he's going to go take over the Shays Performing Arts Center. We also have Representative Bill Johnson, who's a Republican out of Ohio. He's going to resign from the House before mid-March. Okay? Now, these are going to open up the seats. But here's another thing that most people don't realize, is that depending on when Speaker or former Speaker Kevin McCarthy decides to resign, the date of his resignation matters. Because if he decides to resign in 2024, and he's a Republican out of California, then it's up to Governor Gavin Newsom to choose or pretty much set up the special election. California's laws are different. Okay? California, if somebody resigns this year in 2023, Governor Gavin Newsom has to set up a special election in 2024. But if he doesn't resign in 2023 and his resignation goes through in 2024, then Governor Gavin Newsom does not have to set up a special election, and that seat would remain empty for the remainder of the year. That is why it's turning into a massive issue. Because let's think about it. How many Republicans are willing to vote for funding for Ukraine? A decent amount. But they're voting for different bills. So if Republicans can vote for a bill that may or may not pass in the Senate, but at least now it shows the Republican Party voted for it, guess what? It's going to show up in the upcoming election. They can campaign on that. That, hey, we were willing to send $14 billion to Ukraine or to Israel to help out with this war. Or we were willing to send $60 billion to Ukraine to ensure that Russia doesn't gain any more power. Right? And let's just be clear, because I know a lot of people have been asking, do you think if Russia wins this war, are they going to attack Poland? No, I don't think they will. Russia's not going to do that, but it does increase the chances and the risks. And that's all we're looking at. So here's the big issue. As of right now, we're seeing the majority in the House start to become smaller. Okay, that gap is becoming smaller. As it becomes smaller and smaller, it will be much harder to pass a bill, especially if it's a partisan bill. Republicans are going to struggle. Democrats are already struggling in the Senate, which is why we are not seeing a lot of bills hit the floor. So as we move forward into 2024, what you should expect is we could see a lot of people posturing and positioning for certain things. But as far as seeing them pass, it's very unlikely. So, just wanted to fill you in on this, because if we don't see bills pass and there's no new legislation, Congress is there to legislate for the American people. The problem is they may be unable to moving forward. So again, it's going to put us into harm's way. So, that's where we're at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates. But that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.